Hey you guys, meet again with Queen MMA. In the 80s to 90s it can be said that Mike Tyson's KO was brutal. It was because most of the fights he went through could be defeated with an average knockout in the early rounds. Moreover, Mike Tyson's height was below average, but he was able to emerge as the youngest fighter to ever win a heavyweight belt. What do you think about the KO produced by Mike Tyson? To be able to make his opponent fall asleep on the canvas, thus making him a living legend today. Here are Mike Tyson's 13 KO wins that became legends. But before we continue, please press the subscribe button and activate the bell for those who haven't. 1. Versus Michael Spinks. The first was when Mike Tyson faced Michael Spinks. Although this is not the most famous, it is the most important. That's because Michael Spinks is a boxer who has never been knocked down, and he is a Hall of Fame fighter. At that time, Mike Tyson hit Michael Spinks with a big punch that made Michael Spinks fall to the canvas for the first time. Michael Spinks then got up to continue the fight, but seconds later he was completely defeated in the fight. Then Mike Tyson celebrated with just spread his arms in a flat expression. This is an unforgettable moment for Mike Tyson fans to date. 2. Versus Marvis Frazier. Mike Tyson's victory over Marvis Frazier was one of the fastest KOs owned by Mike Tyson. Both fighters at that time were famous for their knockouts, and they both had records with majority wins. At that time Marvis Frazier had only one loss, and for fans, it was Marvis Frazier's biggest loss. But apparently, it was not the biggest defeat when he met Mike Tyson. Even Mike Tyson at that time took only 30 seconds and made this the biggest loss for Marvis Frazier. Three. Versus Don Halpin. This is Mike Tyson's first controversial fight when he meets Don Halpin. Mike Tyson was 18 years old at the time. Although it took longer, Mike Tyson was finally able to beat Don Halpin. As the match progressed in the fourth round, Mike Tyson launched a series of punches that made Don Halpin fall to the canvas. What created controversy was that, when Don Halpin fell to the canvas, Mike Tyson was still trying to deliver a punch until the referee stopped him. Versus Michael Johnson. The fight against Michael Johnson is Mike Tyson's 8th fight, where he has collected 7 KO wins. And this is Mike Tyson's first KO in round 1, when he was only 19 years old. Mike Tyson's victory over Michael Johnson is one of Mike Tyson's 5 fastest wins. In the fight, Mike Tyson threw a left hook that brought down Michael Johnson. Mike Tyson then headed into the corner until the game restarted. Mike Tyson stepped in and immediately stabbed a hard right punch until the fight was completely over. Five. Versus Larry Holmes. Before Mike Tyson fought in the professional class, Mike had idolized Muhammad Ali. At that time Mike Tyson witnessed Muhammad Ali being beaten badly by Larry Holmes. Since then Mike Tyson is determined to confront Holmes and avenge him. Sure enough, when Mike Tyson was at the peak of his career, he had the opportunity to fight Larry Holmes. Mike Tyson only needed 4 rounds to pay off the revenge. Ali himself also witnessed the match live. Six. Versus Henry Tillman. After starting the 90s with the first defeat of his career when he faced James Buster Douglas in Tokyo. 4 months later, Mike Tyson managed to lull the fighter who had won the Los Angeles Olympic gold medal, Henry Tillman. Henry Tillman was unable to serve Mike Tyson even in the second round. The fight, titled The Road Back, ended with a knockout victory in the first round, and Henry Tillman became one of the boxers who was put to sleep by Mike Tyson in the first round. Versus Trevor Berbick. This is probably Mike Tyson's funniest and unforgettable KO win. Not meant to belittle or make fun of Trevor Berbick, because at that time he had tried hard to muster all the strength to get up and continue the rest of the second round, but in fact, he fell in various corners after he received Mike Tyson's very hard attack. Seriously guys, at that time Trevor Berbick really looked drunk in the ring after Mike Tyson threw a hard fist into the body followed by a left hook to the forehead. The blow was so devastating that Trevor Berbick lost his balance and tripped and staggered like a comedy sketch, but this in the real world. Versus Frank Bruno. Before the fight with Frank Bruno was held, the match was postponed for various reasons. The fight was supposed to take place in October, but was finally able to take place in February of the following year. At that time, Frank Bruno surprised and almost knocked out Mike Tyson in the first round with his attack. But finally, Mike Tyson was able to turn things around and corner Frank Bruno in the ropes of the ring. Mike Tyson unleashed a series of punches that forced the referee to stop the fight. Versus Francois Botha. This was a rough and tumble fight, where both boxers couldn't control their emotions when the bell rang for the end of the round. Mike Tyson was also seen trying to break his opponent's hand. This is also Mike Tyson's first fight after serving a 19-month ban for biting Evander Holyfield's ear. Mike Tyson, who collided with Francois Botha at that time, was finally able to land a heavy blow, causing Francois Botha to fall to the canvas. Francois Botha then stumbled onto the ropes of the ring until the fight was stopped by the referee in the fifth round. Versus Carl Williams. Told Carl Williams and Mike Tyson are familiar with each other. They spent some time in their youth. It is also said that Carl Williams was able to control Mike Tyson with a sharp jab and the occasional cross. But in this battle, their encounter was different. A shot that sent Carl Williams off the canvas as Mike Tyson swung his head around and then slashed a sharp left hook into Carl Williams' jaw. The left hook then knocked out the challenger in the first round and made Mike Tyson the winner in the match. Versus Clifford Etienne. At that time Mike Tyson was 36 years old, and this was the last win, and also the last KO, that Mike Tyson had, before he was defeated by Danny Williams and Kevin McBride. The win was the much-anticipated victory for the crowd as Clifford Etienne's right knee buckled after Mike Tyson threw in a very fast right hook. As soon as Etienne was hit, then he removed his mouthguard and didn't move. Mike Tyson then hugged him and tried to help him up. Versus Buster Mathis Jr. This is the second fight after 4 years Mike Tyson has not competed. Mike Tyson really didn't give off his aura as a brutal Iron Man at that time. Even so, his strength was still very noticeable, as was his athleticism as he spun around to reach just a right angle to land a clean punch. The punches were so fast and so strong that Buster Mathis fell backward and was unable to win the 10 counts from the referee. Versus Tony Tubbs. Mike Tyson versus Tony Tubbs fight was Mike Tyson's first fight in Japan, before he suffered a famous loss against James Buster Douglas in Tokyo 2 years later. At that time, the Iron Mike Tyson was right to throw some good shots at the end of the second round until finally a left hook from Mike Tyson made Tony Tubbs' legs go jelly. Those are Mike Tyson's 13 knockout victories that became legends. Don't forget to share your opinion in the comments column to add, like and share the video with your friends. See you in the next video.